He wanted more. She could give him that. I couldn't. That was the simple, brutal equation that ended my marriage. My husband, Chuka, saw my successful sister, Ngozi, and decided I was too small, too simple, too ordinary. He left me for her, embracing the upgrade, while I was left drowning in a one-bedroom flat, watching their power couple photos flood my Instagram feed. They took my love, my life, and my dignity, convincing me that I was the wife nobody fights for. But my family story, and the final legacy of my quiet, observant father, was not yet written. I was the sister everyone forgot, but I was about to inherit a secret that would make me the one everyone finally saw. The photograph trembles in my hands, me in that simple white lace, him grinning like he'd won the lottery. Our wedding day. 6 years ago, under the scorching Lagos sun, surrounded by plastic chairs and well-wishers who brought rice in Ziploc bags. I trace his face with my thumb, and something bitter crawls up my throat. We didn't have much then. Hell, we barely had enough. But I thought we had everything that mattered. I thought love could live in a one-bedroom flat in Suralere, survive on jollof rice and hope, grow stronger through every Nipa blackout we weathered together. I was 24 and stupid enough to believe that being enough for each other was actually enough. The ceiling fan above me groans, pushing around the same hot air that's been suffocating me for weeks now, and I wonder, when exactly did enough stop being enough for him? I set the frame down, face first against the cracked wood of our second-hand table. The apartment is quiet now, the kind of silence that screams. No more of his off-key singing in the shower. No more arguments about whose turn it was to buy Gary. Just me and the ghosts of what we used to be, haunting this space that suddenly feels too small and too big at the same time. Outside, Lagos traffic hums its eternal song, Okada engines, market women shouting, generators coughing diesel smoke into the heavy air. Life moves on, indifferent to the fact that mine just stopped. I've been sitting here for 3 hours, still in yesterday's wrapper, unable to move, unable to think beyond the one question looping in my skull. How did I become not enough? When did the woman he begged to marry become the woman he couldn't wait to leave? But I know when. God, I know exactly when everything shifted. It was the day my sister pulled up to Mama's burial Thanksgiving in that silver Mercedes, the one that caught sunlight like a promise, like a taunt. I remember watching his eyes follow her across the compound, not with lust, not at first. With something worse. Hunger. The kind that has nothing to do with sex and everything to do with status. She stepped out in those heels that cost more than our monthly rent, a designer bag swinging from her manicured fingers, and I saw it. The moment my husband looked at his life, our life, and decided it was too small, too ordinary, too much like failure. He didn't say anything that day. Didn't have to. The way he suddenly stopped touching me said everything. The way he started checking her Instagram every morning said even more. My sister, Ngozi. God's blessing. That's what her name means. And she has been blessed, hasn't she? Cambridge education, corner office in Victoria Island, passport thick with visa stamps from countries I can't even pronounce. She's the daughter my parents actually bragged about. The one whose wedding would have shut down half of Lagos if she'd ever bothered to settle down. But why would she? Marriage is for women who need security, and Ngozi has never needed anything from anyone. She takes what she wants and calls it ambition. I used to admire her. Used to. Before I realized that what she wanted included my husband, and that her ambition had no limit, no loyalty, no conscience. Before I learned that to her, I was just another obstacle to step over in those expensive heels. Another lesser thing to claim. I was the good daughter, the quiet one. The one who stayed in Nigeria while she chased degrees abroad. Who helped Mama through chemotherapy while Ngozi sent money, but never came home. Money that arrived with the sting of obligation, not love. Who held Papa's hand through his grief. Who cooked his meals. Who listened to his stories even when dementia made him repeat them 5 times in an hour. I was the one who chose a man for love instead of his bank account, who believed that a happy home didn't need Italian marble or a pool. And where did that get me? Here. Alone in a rented room that smells like stale groundnut oil and regret, scrolling through photos of my husband, ex-husband, and my sister on her Instagram story. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag new beginnings. Hashtag real love finds you. The comments pour in. Power couple. Finally, a man who matches your energy. Each word is a blade, and I'm bleeding out in silence. I should have seen it coming. All those late-night calls he claimed were work. The way he started ironing his shirts with extra care, wearing cologne to client meetings. How he'd come home smelling like her perfume. That French thing she wears that costs more than our wedding, and I'd say nothing because I didn't want to be that wife. The suspicious one. The insecure one. So I swallowed my questions and cooked his favorite soups and prayed harder and convinced myself I was paranoid. Right up until the day I found his phone unlocked on the kitchen counter and saw the messages. Can't stop thinking about you. She'll never have to know. You deserve someone who wants more from life. And her replies, cold and calculated as a business deal. We'll be good together. Trust me.
No guilt. No hesitation.
Just entitlement. Like I was something she had every right to take. The divorce took 43 days. By day 44, his clothes were gone from our wardrobe, and my sister had posted a photo of him in her living room, her penthouse living room with a view of the lagoon, the one she'd always made sure I saw whenever I visited. Sometimes you don't find love. It finds you, she captioned it. The comments came fast. Oya na. Love is sweet. What kind of fine man be this? Upgrade loading. And me? I was the punchline nobody said out loud. The woman who couldn't keep her man. The fool who thought love was enough when everyone knows in Lagos, in Nigeria, in this life, money talks and everything else walks. I sat on the bathroom floor that night, water running cold over my skin, and I didn't cry. Couldn't. The pain was too big for tears. Too much. Too familiar. I'd been here before. Invisible. Inadequate. Not enough. So, what the hell did I expect would change? We were 6 and 8 when Mama first said it. Why can't you be more like your sister? I was holding my report card, second position in class, proud until those 7 words turned it to ash in my hands. Ngozi came first. Again. She always did. While I struggled with mathematics, she solved problems like they were games designed just for her amusement. While I stammered through oral presentations, she commanded rooms. Even then, teachers loved her. Parents compared their children to her. And me? I was the shadow she cast, the other daughter, the one introduced with a sigh and a shrug. This is Adaeze, Ngozi's younger sister. Never just Adaeze. Never just me. Always defined by her light, drowning in the brightness she didn't even know she was shining in my eyes. I learned early. I would never be special. Not while she existed. But I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I had other gifts. Kindness, maybe. Loyalty. Love. Turns out those don't get you much in a world that only counts what it can see and spend. By the time we were teenagers, the gap had widened into a canyon. She got into University of Lagos, first choice, scholarship, full honors. I got into Yoruba College of Technology. She studied international relations. I did office management. She dated boys with cars. I dated boys with bus fare. At family gatherings, uncles would slip her envelopes thick with cash, whispering, "Keep making us proud." They'd give me 2,000 naira and a pat on the head like I was still a child. Christmas, Easter, New Year, same script. Ngozi arrived like an event, everyone gathering around her to hear about her latest achievement, her newest opportunity. I arrived like furniture, expected, ignored, functional. I'd sit in the corner, clapping for her announcements, smiling until my face hurt, dying inside while everyone celebrated the daughter who got it right. And Mama, God rest her soul, Mama never once asked what I wanted. She just assumed I wanted what Ngozi had and pitted me for not having the talent to get it. When Ngozi got her master's degree in London, Papa threw a party, rented a hall, hired a caterer, invited half the church. I just finished my diploma and was starting a receptionist job at a printing press in Adaeze. Nobody threw me a party. Nobody even asked how my final exams went. That was the year I learned the truth. My family didn't dislike me. They just didn't see me. I was the backup child, the one you kept around in case the golden one stumbled. But Ngozi never stumbled. She came back from the UK with a job offer at a multinational, a salary I couldn't imagine, and a confidence that filled rooms before she even entered them. She moved into a service department in Ikoyi, started wearing clothes with labels I'd only seen in magazines, spoke with this accent that wasn't quite Nigerian anymore, but wasn't quite British either. She'd become someone else. Someone bigger. And I was still me, small, simple, stuck. I never hated her, though. That's the part that hurts most now. I genuinely loved my sister. Looked up to her. I thought maybe if I supported her enough, celebrated her enough, she'd see me. Really see me.
So, I did.
I cheered the loudest at her promotion party. I babysat her friends' children when she hosted her big girl dinners. I helped her pick out furniture for that penthouse, even though every piece cost more than I earned in 3 months and reminded me of everything I didn't have. And she let me. She smiled, said thank you, posted photos of her beautiful life on Instagram, and never once asked how I was doing. Never asked if I was happy, if I was struggling, if I needed anything. Because to her, I was part of the help. Family, yes. But it still helps. There to serve her narrative, not create my own.
I see that now.
I wish I'd seen it sooner. When I met Chuka, I thought I'd finally found my own story. He wasn't rich, worked as a sales rep for a pharmaceutical company, lived in a face-me-I-face-you in Yaba, drove an old Camry that broke down more than it ran.
But he saw me.
Looked at me like I mattered. Like I was beautiful, valuable, worth pursuing. He didn't care that my sister was richer, smarter, shinier. He wanted me. And God, that felt like water in a desert. We dated for a year before he proposed with a ring he'd saved 6 months to buy. The wedding was small, nothing like what Ngozi would have demanded, but it was ours. I wore my mother's old jewelry, carried wildflowers, danced to a live band that played mostly out of tune, and I was happy. Truly, deeply happy. I thought I'd won. In my own small way. Thought I'd finally gotten something that was just mine. But even him, she'd find a way to take. Mama got sick 3 years into my marriage. Breast cancer, stage 3. Ngozi sent money, generous amounts, I'll give her that. Paid for the hospital bills, the surgeries, the experimental treatments that didn't work. But she didn't come home. Not once in the 11 months Mama fought.
Too busy, she said.
Traveling for work. Closing deals. Building her empire. I was the one who moved back into Papa's house, who bathed Mama when she couldn't stand, who held the bowl when she vomited from chemo, who sang her favorite hymns at 3 a.m. when the pain got too bad. I was there the night she died, holding her hand, whispering that it was okay to let go, that Papa would be fine, that I'd take care of him. Ngozi showed up 2 days later for the funeral, dressed in black Prada, crying for the cameras, accepting condolences like she'd been there all along. And everyone let her. Because that's what we do in this family. We let Ngozi rewrite reality, and the rest of us just nod and play along. After Mama's death, I became Papa's keeper. Called him every evening. Brought him groceries every weekend. Listened to his stories about the war, about meeting Mama, about raising us. He'd repeat himself often. Dementia creeping in slow but sure, and I never complained. Just listened again. Laughed at the same jokes, pretended it was the first time. Ngozi called maybe once a month, conversations brief and transactional. How's Papa?
Fine.
Does he need anything? Not right now. Okay, let me know.
Click.
She was too important now, too busy changing the world or whatever it is she told herself she was doing. And I was too insignificant to matter, even to my own father's care. Or so I thought. Turns out Papa saw more than any of us knew. He was watching, measuring, remembering, and he was making plans none of us expected. Plans that would flip this entire script. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Because before the miracle came the storm. And that storm almost drowned me alive. The party was at Papa's house, Mama's 1-year remembrance. The compound was full of relatives I barely recognized, church members who came for the free food, and neighbors who just wanted to see what we'd serve. I'd spent the morning cooking jollof rice, fried rice, moin moin, chicken, goat meat. My hands blistered from heat, my wrapper soaked with sweat. Chuka had helped set up the canopy, arrange the chairs, but he kept checking his phone, distracted. I thought maybe work stress. He'd mentioned a difficult client. I didn't push. The ceremony started at noon, prayers and hymns and speeches about Mama's legacy, and I stood beside Papa, holding his hand, crying quiet tears nobody noticed. Ngozi sat in the front row, designer sunglasses on even though we were under shade, phone in her lap, probably responding to emails. She didn't cry,
Didn't sing.
just existed there, perfect and untouchable, like grief was beneath her pay grade. Then came the moment everything shifted. The pastor asked family members to say a word. Papa was too emotional. I didn't trust my voice. Ngozi stood. She removed her sunglasses, walked to the front, and spoke about Mama like they'd been close. Like she'd been there. Her voice was smooth, controlled, practiced, a boardroom presentation wrapped in fake sentiment. She talked about sacrifice, about love, about legacy. And people listened. Of course they did. When Ngozi spoke, the world paid attention. I watched my husband watching her, and something cold slithered down my spine. His expression, I'd never seen him look at me like that. Like she was something rare, something extraordinary, something to aspire to. When she finished, people clapped. She smiled, gracious as a queen receiving tribute, and returned to her seat. Chuka leaned toward me and whispered, "Your sister is really something, Shah. See how she carries herself. That's confidence." He meant it as a compliment, maybe, but I heard the subtext. Why aren't you more like her? Why can't you be enough? After the ceremony, people ate and socialized. Ngozi held court near the drinks table, surrounded by admirers asking about her job, her travels, her secrets to success. I was in the kitchen, packing leftover food for Papa's neighbors, when Chuka came in. He looked at me, really looked, and I saw it. Disappointment. Like he'd woken up from a dream and found himself married to the wrong sister. "You should mingle more," he said. "Network. Your sister's friends are big people. They could help us."
Us.
But he meant him. He wanted connections, opportunities, a ladder to climb using my sister's rungs. I nodded, wiped my hands on my apron, and went outside. But by the time I got there, Ngozi was leaving. She hugged Papa, kissed my cheek without looking at me, and walked to her car. That Mercedes. Silver, gleaming brand new. A group of young men gathered around it, admiring, taking photos. Chuka was among them. And Ngozi, my sister, saw him. Smiled at him. Not the polite smile you give your sister's husband. Something else. Something that made my stomach drop. The drive home was silent. Chuka stared out the window, jaw tight, lost in thought. I tried to start a conversation. The food turned out nice, don't you think? But he just grunted. At home, he went straight to his phone, scrolling Instagram. I saw the screen over his shoulder. He was on Ngozi's page, looking at her photos. Her in Dubai. Her at a yacht party. Her at some awards ceremony shaking hands with governors. Double tapping. Liking. Commenting fire emojis. I felt something crack inside me, small but significant. "Chuka?" He didn't look up. "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
"Just tired." But he wasn't tired. He was somewhere else, somewhere I couldn't reach, dreaming of a life he thought he deserved but didn't have. And I was the reason he didn't have it.
Me.
The wife who worked as a receptionist, who couldn't afford designer bags, who made him live in Surelair instead of Ikoyi. I was the anchor dragging him down. He didn't say it that night, but I felt it. Heavy and cold as a tombstone over a marriage that was already dying. Over the next few weeks, the comparisons started. Little comments, sharp as paper cuts. "Your sister must be making serious money now, ABI. Why didn't you study something like international relations? Something with prospects. You know, if you'd been more ambitious, maybe we'd be in a better place by now." Each comment was a judgment, a tiny blade slicing away at my confidence. I tried to defend myself. I'm happy with my job. We have everything we need. Money isn't everything, but my voice sounded weak even to me. Because maybe he was right. Maybe I had chosen wrong. Settled for less. Become comfortable with mediocrity while my sister reached for the stars and caught them. Maybe being content was just another word for being too scared to want more. The doubt grew like mold in damp corners, silent and poisonous, until I couldn't remember who I was before he started measuring me against her. I started dressing better, wearing makeup to work, checking Gozi's Instagram to see what successful women looked like so I could copy them. But I had a bad photocopy. Faded. Blurry.
Wrong.
And Chuka saw it. God, he saw everything I wasn't and nothing I was. He began working late. At least, that's what he called it. I'd text at 8 p.m. When are you coming home? He'd reply at 11. Leaving now. Then show up smelling like perfume, not mine. One night, I found a receipt in his pocket. Dinner at a restaurant in 6. 2 entrees. 2 drinks. I confronted him. He didn't even flinch. Client meeting, he said. What? I'm not allowed to eat now. But I knew. The way you know when a fever's coming before it hits. The way you know rain is close by the smell of the air. Something was coming. Something that would destroy us. I just didn't know yet that the storm had a name, a face, a sister's smile. I cooked his favorite meals, hoping food could fix what was breaking. I initiated sex, hoping touch could remind him why he'd chosen me. But his body was there, and his mind was elsewhere, and when it was over he'd turn away and scroll his phone until he fell asleep. And I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling fan, asking God what I'd done wrong, what sin I was paying for. Why love, my love, was never, ever enough. The final straw came on a Saturday. We were supposed to go to the market together, one of those rare moments where we still pretended to be a team. His phone rang. I saw the name, Gozi. My heart stopped. He answered, walked outside to take the call, came back 20 minutes later smiling for the first time in weeks. Change of plans. Your sister needs help moving some furniture. I told her I'd come to assist. I just stared at him. I thought we had plans. This is more important. Family, you know. He grabbed his keys and left. I stood in our living room, surrounded by everything we'd built. This small, shabby life I thought was ours, and I knew. I knew it was over. He wasn't helping her move furniture. He was moving toward her, away from me, toward the life he believed he deserved.
And she was letting him.
Worse, she was inviting him. My sister, who had everything, who could have anyone, was taking the one thing that was mine. Not because she loved him, but because she could. Because in her world, there were no limits, no boundaries, no such thing as too far. There was only want and take, desire and conquest. And I, her shadow, her lesser half, I would learn what it meant to lose everything to the person who was supposed to protect me most. I found the messages on Tuesday. Ordinary day, ordinary morning. Except I'd forgotten my phone at home and used his to check the time while he showered. The WhatsApp notification lit up the screen. Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. From Gozi. My hands went numb. I unlocked his phone. I knew the passcode. We'd never had secrets. Or so I thought, and scrolled up. Weeks of messages. Months, maybe. When are you leaving her? We have to be smart about this. I've never felt this way before. And his replies, eager and shameless. Soon, I promise. You're everything I've been looking for. I love you. 3 words he hadn't said to me in over a year, spilled out carelessly to my sister, like they meant nothing. Like our vows meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. The shower stopped running. I sat on the bed, phone in my lap, everything inside me shutting down. He walked out, towel around his waist, saw my face, saw his phone, and knew. Just knew. He didn't panic. Didn't apologize. He just sighed, like I'd found out something inconvenient, and said, "We need to talk."
Talk.
Like this was a business deal gone wrong, not a marriage burning to ash in my hands. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed. My lungs had forgotten how to pull air. He sat beside me. not close, careful to keep distance, and launched into a speech that sounded rehearsed. I didn't plan this. It just happened. Your sister and we connect on a level you and I never did. She understands ambition.
Drive.
She wants more from life. His voice was calm, rational, like he was explaining why he'd chosen a different phone plan. And you? I finally croaked out. What about me? He looked at me then, really looked, and what I saw in his eyes broke something in me that will never heal.
Pity.
He pitied me. You're a good woman, Ada. You really are. But you settled. You chose comfort over growth. You could have been more, done more, but you were okay with this. He gestured around our small bedroom, at the life we'd built, dismissing it, dismissing us, dismissing me with a wave of his hand. I need more, and she can give me that. The life I deserve, the partnership I need.
He paused.
She can give me the life you never could. I don't remember standing up. Don't remember slapping him, but I must have, because my palm stung and his cheek bloomed red. He didn't flinch, just looked at me with that same pity, that infuriating calm, like I was a child throwing a tantrum over a toy I never really owned. You're angry. I get it, but this is better for both of us. You'll see. Better. He was destroying me and calling it favor. I found my voice then, raw and jagged. Did she chase you? Or did you chase her? He hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. Does it matter? It matters to me.
Fine.
We ran into each other at a conference. Started talking. One thing led to another. One thing led to another. Like our marriage was just an inconvenient thing standing between him and his upgrade. How long? 6 months. 6 months of lies. Of coming home late. Of turning away from me in bed. Of making me feel like I was crazy for suspecting. And her? My sister? She knew you were married. She knew it was me. He shrugged. Actually shrugged. She said if you really had what I needed, I wouldn't be looking elsewhere. She's not wrong. The cruelty of that statement, the casual, effortless cruelty, took my breath away. This man I'd loved, who I thought loved me, was a stranger. Had always been a stranger. I'd married a mask. I called Ngozi. My hand shook so badly, I could barely hold the phone. She answered on the third ring, her voice bright and unbothered. Hey, sis. What's up? What's up? Are you serious right now? Silence. Then, cooler. I'm guessing you found out.
Nos jam. Noi balaji.
Just acknowledgement like we were discussing weather. How could you do this? He's my husband. Was, she corrected. Past tense. And honestly, Ada, you should be thanking me. I'm doing you a favor. He was never really yours, you just had him on loan until someone better came along. That's me. I'm the better option. Her words were so calm, so matter-of-fact, so completely void of empathy that I almost couldn't process them. You're my sister. And sisters don't do this. Sisters protect each other. She laughed then. Actually laughed. Oh, Ada, you've always been so naive. This isn't about sisterhood. This is about compatibility. He and I make sense together. We're on the same level. You and him, that was always charity on his part. You must have known that deep down. I hadn't. But hearing her say it made me wonder if everyone else had seen what I'd been too blind to see. That I'd been a placeholder. A warm body until something better arrived. And better had arrived in designer heels and a silver Mercedes, wearing my sister's face. The divorce happened fast. I didn't fight it. What was there to fight for? A man who'd already left? Pride I no longer had? He moved out within a week, took half of our nothing, and disappeared into my sister's penthouse like he'd always belonged there. The family WhatsApp group exploded. Auntie sent voice notes, long and rambling, trying to make sense of it. Some blamed me. You must not have been taking care of him properly. A man doesn't leave a good home without reason. Others blamed him. He's a useless man. Greedy. He'll get what's coming to him. But nobody, not one person, blamed Ngozi. Because Ngozi was untouchable. Successful people don't follow the same rules as the rest of us. Their sins get called ambition, their cruelty gets called confidence. And me? I was just the collateral damage of someone else's greatness. Papa called once. His voice was weak, confused. Ada, what is happening? They're saying Chuka left. I couldn't explain.
Couldn't burden him with this shame.
It's okay, Papa.
I'm okay.
He was quiet for a long time. Then, are you?
Elite.
Yes. But I wasn't. I was drowning in an ocean of betrayal, and everyone was watching from the shore, shaking their heads, but nobody was jumping in to save me. I moved into a one-bedroom flat in Adaeze, all I could afford on my receptionist salary. The walls were thin, the neighborhood was loud, the bathroom tap leaked no matter how many times the landlord promised to fix it. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., take a cold shower because the heater was broken, dress in my cheap work clothes, and commute for 2 hours to a job where nobody knew I was dying inside. At night, I'd scroll Instagram, self-torture, I know, and watch my sister post photos of my ex-husband. Them at restaurants I couldn't pronounce. Them on vacation in Seychelles. Them at gallery openings, political events, places where people wore influence like cologne. The captions killed me. Finally found my missing piece. Love looks good on us, doesn't it? The comments poured in by the hundreds. Beautiful couple. This is what power looks like. Na money make una fine like this? And I'd read every single one. Each word a fresh wound. Hating myself for looking but unable to stop. Because maybe if I watched long enough, it would hurt less. Maybe I'd go numb. I never did. The pain stayed sharp, familiar as my own heartbeat, reminding me every second. You weren't enough. You will never be enough. You are the sister everyone forgets, the wife nobody fights for, the woman the world overlooks while celebrating everyone around her. And for 6 long months, I believed it. The first photo appeared 3 weeks after he moved out. Ngozi posted it at 9 p.m. on a Friday, golden hour lighting, both of them on her balcony overlooking the lagoon, his arm around her waist, her head on his shoulder. Caption: Sometimes God removes people from your life to make room for the right one. Grateful. The comments came fast. Amen. This is so beautiful. You guys are glowing. I sat on my mattress on the floor. I couldn't afford a bed frame yet, and stared at that photo until my vision blurred. He was wearing the watch I'd saved 3 months to buy him for his birthday. She was wearing a smile I'd never seen her wear before. Victorious. Not happy. Victorious. Like she'd won a prize she'd been competing for, and maybe she had. Maybe I was always the competition, and I just didn't know we were racing. I reported the post. Petty, I know, for harassment. Instagram sent an automated message. This doesn't violate our community guidelines. Of course it didn't. There's no button for this violates my humanity. No option for this is my sister stealing my life and broadcasting it for likes. The posts kept coming. Every week, sometimes every day, a new update from their perfect life. Them at a yacht party, with people I recognized from TV. Them at a restaurant where the cheapest plate cost more than my monthly salary. Them at a wedding, a senator's daughter, someone mentioned in the comments, looking like they'd stepped out of a magazine. My ex-husband had transformed. New clothes, new haircut, new confidence. He looked like money now, like success, like he'd finally become the man he'd always believed he deserved to be. And beside him, Ngozi glowed with the satisfaction of a woman who'd claimed exactly what she wanted and faced 0 consequences for it. I wanted to look away, delete the app, block them both, but I couldn't. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, horrifying and hypnotic, and I was trapped in the wreckage while they drove away unscratched, laughing. Some nights I'd dream of commenting, "That's my husband. That's my sister. Do you people know what they did?" But I never did. Silence became my prison and my dignity. The only thing I had left. Work became my escape and my torture. I'd sit at the reception desk of that small printing press, answering calls, greeting clients, smiling until my face ached, and the whole time my mind was elsewhere. I'd calculate how long it would take to save enough to move somewhere better. How many years before I could afford the kind of life that might make me visible again. The numbers never added up. My salary barely covered rent, food, and transportation. There was nothing left for dreams, for ambition, for becoming the kind of woman my husband had wanted me to be. I'd eat wache from the street vendor for lunch, same thing every day because it was cheapest, and watch wealthier women walk past in heels and handbags that cost more than my entire wardrobe. And I'd think, is this it? Is this all my life will ever be? Ngozi was right. I had settled. Chosen comfort over growth. And now I was paying for it with a life so small I could barely breathe inside it. The regret was suffocating. Not regretting losing him. He'd show me who he was, and I was starting to believe I'd dodged a bullet. But I regret losing myself. For becoming so invisible, even I couldn't find myself anymore. Double shifts became normal. The printing press needed someone to manage evening orders, and I volunteered. Not because I loved the job, but because going home meant facing silence, facing my thoughts, facing the reality that I was 29 years old, and my life had ended before it began. I'd work from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., commute home in packed Danfo buses where men pressed too close and everyone smelled like sweat and suffering, collapse on my mattress still in my work clothes, and wake up to do it again. On Sundays, I stopped going to church. I couldn't stand the pity in people's eyes, the whispered prayers, the aunties who'd corner me after service to ask if I was okay, in that tone that really meant, "We heard what happened, and we're judging you." I stayed home, washed my one good work outfit by hand, ironed it with a pressing iron heated on a kerosene stove, and prepared for another week of existing without living. This was survival. Raw, joyless, relentless survival. And somewhere in Victoria Island, in a penthouse with lagoon views, my sister and my ex-husband were thriving. The injustice of it felt cosmic. Intentional. Like God himself had decided I deserved this. But there was one person who never stopped calling.
Papa.
Every evening, like clockwork, my phone would ring. "Ada, how are you?" His voice is frail, shaky, but persistent. At first I'd lie. "I'm fine, Papa. Just tired from work." He'd pause, that long pause that meant he knew I was lying but wouldn't push. "Have you eaten?" "Yes, Papa." Another lie. "Most nights, I skipped dinner to save money for rent." "That's good. I'm proud of you, you know."